So a match that absolutely no one was caring about at the start of the day ended up becoming not only controversial but also an absolute low-key thriller. What looked like a convincing win for Bangladesh ended up becoming them crawling to the win because they were 8 down.
Yes, from a position where you thought that they're going to be really it's going to be a canter for them, and they're really going to be winning with at least about a 6 wicket margin. The margin of victory being only 3 wickets as we speak, because there were some wickets towards the end, and what there was towards the end was not just wickets. There was some drama as well because there was more than, let's say, you saw a tongue-in-cheek moment wherein Angelo Matthews did try to give a piece of his own medicine to Shakib Al Hasan.
Yeah, when he got him out.
Exactly. Not
Poetic moment, really.
Poetic moment. And it was just, when you look at, let's say, the whole saga as to what happened today, the only way, let's say, it was, let's say, supposed to end was perhaps that way. Because there wouldn't have been, let's say, a better way of, when you talk about, rivalries, when you talk about episodes, I think there's going to be there's going to be that one sweet note, let's say, for or the sweet memory that the Sri Lankans might possibly have. And you talk about, because what Shakib Al Hasan did is something up for debate, but talk about divine providence or poetic justice or whatever
of sorts.
Yes, whatever you want to say, it happened that way, and it was Angelo Matthews who did end up eventually getting the wicket of Shakib Al Hasan.
Yeah, and actually, but at that point, I think that was what put a little bit of worry. Because once he went, then it was Najmal Hossain Shanto who departed on 90. And at that point, you're thinking, oh man, I don't know whether this could be a thriller or not. The problem was, I think those wickets came too late.
Yeah.
If they gave them about a 150 run stand, the two of them, 150 plus runs. I don't remember exactly the number it was. But it was such a big partnership that it really put the game beyond all doubt. Although there were some irresponsible shots by some of the lower order batters, particularly Mehdi Hassan Miraz, who him and I think one of the other batters, I can't remember who it was, getting an absolute earful from Shakib at the end of the match. Like they won the match, but Shakib was giving them an absolute earful, saying, "How could you have nearly thrown that away?"
Yeah. But the one thing you talk about, and I remember Shane and I touched upon, how Mushfiqur Rahim has been dry on runs ever since those 250s that he got right at the start, one against England, the other against New Zealand. But after that, even today, a very good delivery, but he didn't read the length right again. He was too deep in his crease. He was trying to cut the ball. But again, this one, coming in, and he had no answer to that particular ball. I think it was Madhushanka who's the bowler there. But on this occasion, Sri Lanka being on the other side of the result that they would have wanted to be on. So much so that you saw Mahesh Theekshana not even getting up from the ground. His head was just into the ground. He could just not believe what had happened over there. And plenty of moments, again, this match was peppered with a lot of, moments that will be talked about in the future. Of course, the more controversial one will be the one that we've talked about already in that Angelo Matthews dismissal or the timeout, whatever you want to call it. But otherwise as well, there were these, moments in the match, especially friction points, let's say, where you saw the two sides and the two side of players go head to head. So much so that the umpires had to come intervene, and somebody like a Kusal Mendes, the captain of the side, had to be sent away from by the umpires and had to be helped away by some of his teammates as well.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the times there were plenty of moments where you saw convergences happen. There were a couple of occasions I remember the ball was changed also because I think the dew got so bad in New Delhi, and that was another reason, that Bangladesh were in cruise control at one point, was because Sri Lanka's bowlers, and I'm not just saying spinners, their bowlers were badly impacted by the dew. The dew was so strong that multiple times you saw those little carts out there with the ropes. To kind of get the dew away.
One thing that was happening on the broadcast time and again, you could see that one of those cameras that's on the ground, that camera, they were showing the wheel of that camera again and again, and that showed
was wet.
It just told you the complete picture, let's say, as to how wet that wheel also was. That told you that these are very dewy conditions. And like Shane said, between the drinks break, whenever it was possible, you could see those carts doing the rounds as well. It had a little thing, a a rope, and the other one had a sponge, I remember, attached to the back of the cart, and the whole idea was to drive the field as much as possible. But I think from a Sri Lankan perspective, I think the ball had gotten wet or soaked rather couple of times to the extent that there wasn't much purchase. And yes, like you said, Shane, earlier, the follow wickets, had that happened earlier, because it's not like it was a huge total. Having said that, we've seen that total, in Delhi, by the way, be a competitive total as well times. But this wasn't the same wicket. It wasn't the kind of wicket that you saw in that England-Afghanistan match, where the Afghanistan spinners especially really dictated the terms that day and got the result they wanted today. Though not quite the case for Sri Lanka, and they weren't helped with the conditions much.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there were two things that were key here. One was, of course, the fact that Dew kicked in, and it made batting on what seemed like a pitch that had eased out even easier. So really, Bangladesh weren't in that much trouble. I mean, yeah, their openers didn't do much, but that partnership, all they needed was one big partnership.
Yeah.
They got that from Shakib Al Hasan and Najmal Hasan Shanto, and thereafter, once that was in fact, once that partnership was broken, you thought maybe there was a semblance of hope, but you knew that Bangladesh, all they had to do was play sensibly. Although a lot of them threw their wickets away. I think Mushfiqur, kind of irresponsible. Mehmudullah, definitely. I don't think he read that ball from Tikshana at all. It was like a 105 kmph yorker, which he kind of tried to cut because he realized, this is probably not going to be one of those balls I'll slog. But he also didn't read it, and they didn't need to slog at that point in time. You were well in control. Just play sensible cricket, get the match done with. I know Bangladesh at this point are playing for nothing, but a win against your rivals, as it were, good thing to have. They got there in the end, but they gave themselves an almighty scare in the process.
Absolutely. But the one moment, let's just spend some time, and we'd love to hear from you guys as well. The other moment from this match, which will be talked about, is the fact that even after the match ended, clearly the animosity between the two teams didn't subside, because while the Bangladesh players, some of them obviously, the two of them coming back from the field, but the others just being around the ropes, were all there. But the Sri Lankan side chose not even to shake hands, and they took the other route, and there was no coming together of the two teams, no display of sportsman spirit or sportsmanship, and not something when you got revered figures there in both those camps sitting to be happening under their eye as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I was a little surprised. I did think that there would be some kind of handshake, and there was. You only saw it happen between the coaching staff members. That's it. That's really the extent of it. And need I remind you, a lot of those coaching staff members aren't even necessarily from either of the countries. You know that Sri Lanka's head coach is Chris Silverwood. Bangladesh, I can't seem to remember who the head coach is, but their bowling coach is Alan
Dolan. Exactly, Alan Dolan was there. I saw him there. After, and again, you could see some sort of interaction happen over there between the coaching staff, but not the players. And maybe there is something that we don't know about as to what exists between these two sides of this present crop of players. Because I, for one, couldn't understand. Tikshana being so disheartened with the loss. It's not like it ended their campaign or anything. Like,
I mean, it did technically.
It technically did, but you knew where they were headed, because they're playing New Zealand next, and it's not like they were only mathematically in it. There are teams like Australia and New Zealand who are much better position than Sri Lanka. Even Pakistan doing a little better, I would say. Afghanistan, they've got 3 games remaining. So, having said that, again, didn't understand the reaction, over there in particular. But what this result does is that now we know that even Sri Lanka cannot make it to the semi-finals. You're only looking at 3 more teams now, I would say. Afghanistan continue to be in the mix. There is Australia in the mix. There is Pakistan in the mix, and of course New Zealand also in the mix, because only 2 spots are sealed as yet. There are 2 more spots up for grabs.
4 teams.
Yes, 4 teams now. It's all between 4 teams now. And one would like to believe that perhaps it is New Zealand that has, or maybe again, New Zealand, Australia look like the front runners, because again, Afghanistan have to play Australia. They're playing tomorrow.
And they have to play South Africa also.
And they've got to play South Africa. Pakistan could be a cagey affair, let's say, with England. You can, given how England are playing, take that as a sure shot victory. But you never know, England, if they are to play that one game to their potential, maybe, who knows, if it's against Pakistan, that game happens the day before India will be playing against Netherlands. So 11th is when that game will happen. But pretty much that as far as the last game. I think this was the last game in Delhi.
I'm pretty sure this will be the last game in Delhi.
Yeah, pretty
Just
much.
as well. I mean, considering you would expect that things will probably be getting worse in the national capital.
Yeah. The air here hasn't been kind.
Let's see a few comments. We were getting people. Although I will say this is one of those matches totally overshadowed by, let's say, a lot of other things. One thing in particular. Ashish Dhar, who wins fastest finger first again, says, will India play on 15th or 16th if semi is in Kolkata? If it's in Kolkata, they'll play on 16th because the date isn't changing of the semi. It's just the venue and also dependent on if Pakistan are playing.
And India are only playing Kolkata now if and only if Pakistan are making it. Otherwise, India are headed to Mumbai. You only sort of get to know that on the 11th of November if Pakistan are qualifying, because India are assured of a top spot finish. Now, wherever Pakistan finished, Pakistan I don't think can make it to third spot anyway.
Only fourth.
Exactly. So if, regardless of where Pakistan, now if Pakistan finish fourth, India will be taking on Pakistan. That will happen then on the 16th in Kolkata. Otherwise, India will be playing their match in Mumbai, whosoever the opposition is, barring Pakistan.
Yeah, barring Pakistan. Let's see. Dex says, why would they shake hands after this? This is football kind of stuff. Agreed, and that's why I'm all here for it. I love the drama. Cricket at times can be a little too goody-goody. This is one of those matches where you're watching and like, yeah, there is a lot of animosity there. And Shakib being Shakib totally lit the fuse. Totally lit the fuse. Sarath Chandra Yalmarthi, in fact, he had pointed out that, the only way this ends is if Matthews gets Shakib. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So good shout there on his part as well. Let's try and take one or two more, then call it a night. Abhishek Singh says, not sure why Sri Lanka did not choose to run out the non-strikers. Would have won it fair and square then. Could have broken that partnership with that and then the game was theirs.
Well, that's very much part of the rules. That's very, very much part of the rules, and I won't call it the M thing. It is a bowler run out. Yes, it is a bowler run out. It's a non-striker run out. Well within the rules. Nobody is allowed to take an extra inch on the field, on the pitch. That's very much in the rules. If all 10 wickets, by the way, were to fall like that today as far as Bangladesh is concerned, I would take that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's 10 wickets falling within the rules, then fine, go for it. No problem. I'm surprised, actually, you're right that Sri Lanka didn't.
Exactly.
Would have made things even pricier.
It actually tells you that, Sri Lanka aren't holding that against, Bangladesh. Maybe they may in the future. You don't know what context this rivalry has. Let's say the next time that these two sides play, there is definitely some tension between the two sides because clearly that's why you saw. But maybe better sense prevailed at least on the field. But even then, I think they were in every right to go after every bowler trying to run out the non-striker if that were to be the case, because that's just prescribed in the rules and that's totally within the spirit of the game. You can really not have an argument there, I feel.
Absolutely. So to sum it up, of course, Bangladesh won. Pretty much a consolation win for them, but it does also end Sri Lanka's campaign, which means now you have 4 teams in the mix for potentially 2 spots. And tomorrow you might just very well be seeing Australia take one step closer. They're playing Afghanistan.
In Mumbai.
Yeah, but oh boy, if somehow Afghanistan can serve up an upset,
it'll stir the table up.
All things are on the table then. So then there we go. I think that is this match. And as Sport Fan points out, he's saying that there's not so much talk about the match as much as there is in the 2-minute time delay by Matthews. Spot on, my friend. That was the moment of the match, and anything beyond that at this point just feels like side chatter. So we'll take your leave for now, Harshit and me. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap that bell. Let us know in the comments what you thought about the match and that Matthews moment. Plenty of stuff coming up in that regard as well. Follow us on socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Download the Sports Tech app and stay tuned. Tomorrow also, big game coming. We'll see you then. For now though, it's goodbye.